Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Adoptions from the Heart TV. I'm your host, Amanda Aliberti. Today, we are joined by Tim and Greg, who built their family through adoption here at Adoptions from the Heart. So welcome, Tim and Greg.
Thank you.
Can you guys first start off by sharing a little bit about when you decided to explore adoption as an option of building your family, and just what your expectations of this process would look like, and when you eventually came to Adoptions from the Heart?
So pretty much we met back in 2006, and we pretty much knew that we wanted a family right away. And we waited a couple of years, and then I guess it was about 2014 when we decided to get involved with Adoptions from the Heart. And that was just by dumb luck. We looked up local agencies and we found Adoptions from the Heart. And we got involved with Stephanie, who hopped right on top of things for us. And she said, hey, here's the timeline of when we need things from you and what you've got to do. And then you're going to go in the book, and who knows when it'll happen from there.
Once we got in the book, Stephanie made us very well aware that it could take a day, it could take a couple years, but that, she's confident that we will eventually be able to adopt the baby. And we were only in the book for, I think, 6 or 7 months, maybe.
We went in the book in April, and our son was born in August.
Obviously, everybody has their own, journey with adoption. There's various adoption agencies out there, other methods of building your family. But I know some folks struggle, and they struggle for years trying to navigate the right fit. What agency is really going to have their back through this process? What can you say to some of those families who are really at the beginning stages of exploring adoption, and why you felt coming to this agency was different?
I think we felt right from the beginning when we came in for a little introduction meeting. It was just Greg and I think it was just Stephanie in the room with us, and her just talking about it. She made us feel really comfortable, made us feel like it was possible. All of the paperwork was clear, the fees were all up front, so we knew exactly what we were getting into.
The checklist was nice. Yep. There was a checklist that we didn't have anywhere else. I mean, we were at another agency that made us take classes, and partway through they decided they were shutting down the infant program with no notice. And then the international adoption one that we were a part of was, he just was looking at those emails the other day, and it was just an unorganized, we never knew what was coming next. And so when we got to Adoptions from the Heart, having a checklist and Stephanie saying, get this done by this date and this will happen, and this, it just made everything seem much more professional.
Well, and we felt like we were just like any other parents. We didn't ever feel different because we were a same-sex couple. She treated us just like any other couple or individual coming in for adoption. So we just felt honestly, it was really Stephanie, I think, that helped us out. She was just the right person for us at the right time.
You guys really hit on important factors that I think people have to consider. Whenever I'm teaching an informational meeting, I always say you have to find the right fit for you, whether it's our agency or somebody else. But this is a commitment that you're making. This is a big deal, financially, emotionally, mentally. There's a lot involved in the adoption process. It's not like you just walk into an office and pick a baby up off the shelf, right? So you want to make sure you have a team behind you, and you're working with a social worker that has the experience, that has the ability to provide you the support as you're going through this journey. And it's not always a smooth ride. There may be some bumps in the road, but the fact that you have somebody in your corner protecting you and really being there for you is so valuable in this journey. Talk to us about what it was like to get the call. It sounds like you had an emergency placement situation, and just advice you would have for other families as they are preparing to get that call, whether it's within 6 months or maybe even waiting a year or two in the books.
We had actually gotten the call more than once. And the first time, or did we have 2 that didn't go through?
Yeah, I think it was one. Really.
1 or 2 that didn't go through. And I got the call while I was at work, and I went and I sat down in my boss's office and was like, I don't think I'm ready for this. And, kind of had a little mini meltdown, and it didn't work. But then we got the call for our son, and they said, he's here and you have 12 hours to get down here. And we really had nothing at all. Nothing in the house.
Even the way it started, though, is that my phone was ringing at night, and it was a number I didn't recognize, so I wasn't answering it. And on the third time, it was the same number, and I was like, what? And I answered it, and here it was, about our son, and I was like freaking out. She was like, if you wouldn't have answered, we would have had to move on to the next set. And I called Greg because Greg was at work that night, and I was like, I think this is legit. I think it's happening. And then we went to bed the next morning. We were there. We got him.
It was crazy that day. I mean, we woke up, we drove down to the hospital, which was a couple hours away, and we thought about names on the way there, but we had to stop at Target on the way to the hospital to buy a car seat. And fortunately, the police station was right next to the hospital because we didn't even know how to put the car seat in. And it was funny. There were two police women there, and they were sobbing as they were putting the car seat in the car. They were so excited for us and everything. And then we got to the hospital, and it really was a whirlwind. We went in and we met his mom and grandfather, and it was just a quick introduction. And they let us know their hopes, that like they had two names that they had hoped we'd consider using in his name, at least one of them, and then the social Stephanie said, all right, it's time. And one of the hardest things was watching her leave the hospital there while we were still waiting. But then we went up, and they brought him out in a little cart with his little beanie and everything on, and before long we were putting him in the car thinking, oh my gosh, like where are we going? Fortunately, my parents came to the hospital with us, and they drove home separately and stopped and got a pack and play on the way home or something for him to sleep in. And we went to see his family to show him off and everything. It was really a crazy day.
Talk to us about what type of open adoption you have with Birth Family.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
What's your name?
Clark.
Hi, Clark. How old are you? 8.
8. So we're talking to them about your adoption. Yeah. And they just asked us to talk a little bit about your mom. Do you have anything you want to say? When did you get to see her?
I think it was May 25th.
May 20th. Yeah. I think it was. I think you're right. Yep. What'd you do?
We went to Lions Pride Park.
Lions Pride Park. Yes. And had a good picnic, some ice cream, and played with cousin, right? All right.
Do you enjoy seeing your birth mom?
Yeah.
That's great to hear. How about for you guys? What is it like to see his extended birth family?
They're wonderful. We're very, very grateful for all of them. Clark, from the first time that we met them, Grandma and Grandpa have always come, and it was shortly after that when he got to meet his cousins. And his grandmother has a necklace that has all 4 of them, and what she does for one grandkid, she does for all of them, including Clark. And they're just really, really great people. And his mother is very appreciative. Clark will often say, when do I get to see my mom again? But we also have a private Flickr account set up for her and her mother that we post pictures to pretty regularly. 9 years in, I mean, it's been years now since we exchanged phone numbers, and we text each other and
FaceTime sometimes.
We FaceTime whenever, like we couldn't get together on Mother's Day this year, so we were able to FaceTime then. But she, she's very respectful of limits. Like, we have told her that she's allowed to post pictures of him on her social media and everything, but she's like, that was one of the things that the agency recommended that I not do because it could hurt a relationship or whatever. And so she's always very, very thoughtful about things. And honestly, we wouldn't want a different situation for us. We're very lucky.
It feels very normal too when we go visit, and normal is a generic word, but like, just this past week or 2 weeks ago, we were there just at the park and just talking, and Clark's birth mother's sister, so Clark's aunt, was there. It's just great talking to her and her kids, and it's just super normal, and Clark feels like it's normal, and we visit and then we come back home.
Like, we spent 4.5 hours in the park with him that day, and we can talk about it around Clark. Clark will tell his friends about his adoption, and
he's very proud of it. He's definitely vocal about it. He wants to tell people about it.
Yeah.
Well, and obviously every child's different, and their personalities and what they want to talk about or share is up to them. But I would also probably venture to believe that part of the reason why he's open to it is because you guys have reinforced it in his life, and this has become a normal thing for him. It's not something that he needs to hide or feel any sort of shame about. It's something that's spoken about in your household. So it's very common and normal for him. Any advice you would have for folks who believe and understand that open adoption is beneficial, but they're still hesitant about the whole, like, I don't know, do I give my phone number? Do I give my last name? Like, what is that going to look like? Because I feel like that's still some of that hesitancy we still see often. Like, most folks understand that nowadays adoption, it's very hard to find a closed adoption agency that even allows for that. But I think it's a matter of like the concept of having more direct contact and building on that open adoption that people are still fearful or maybe just a little hesitant about. So any advice that you would have for folks in those positions?
I mean, it definitely took time. It wasn't instantaneous, you know. So the first few visits, you know, we visited and we're very attentive to being right with him and not letting them, you know, take him for a walk or anything. But over time, as we've built trust with them, and we can see that, you know, they know that they made the best decision, and this is
they care about. They care 100%.
They care about, and they care about us. And so as that time went on, you know, now we are definitely comfortable with giving our phone number, and because we know that they respect us and how we're parenting Clark.
And you hit on such an important word, trust. I mean, it works both ways too, right? Because at the beginning of all this, you have a biological parent who is trusting a family with the most precious gift in the world, which is their child. So I think right from the gate, the idea of how do we build trust? Well, it's already started. It's now just has to keep going, and it has to work both ways, and everybody has to be vested into it, right? Like any relationship, everybody has to want it or it won't work.
Yep.
But I think as the adopted parents too, you have to remember that it's about, everything is about the future of your little kid and what's healthy for him or her, and what's best for them. And we know that he's going to be better off having that connection.
I'm just switching gears for a second. As a same-sex couple, any advice you would have for folks who are, you know, inquiring about adoption, trying to figure out if it's going to be different or not, and what, you know, what things are going to look like as a same-sex couple navigating the adoption process?
I think we have been extremely lucky with that. The process, we didn't feel any different than any other couple or parent. In the hospital, we didn't feel any different. Introducing him to family and friends, no different. I just feel like we've been really lucky with that. But everyone's going to be different. It also maybe depends on which area you adopt in and where you live and that type of thing. But, you know, Clark having two dads, he loves it, and he definitely tells all the kids at school, and they know us as his dads. And but I think in the back of our head, especially in the beginning, we were always cognizant of what people might think, you know, when it's us two with a baby at a store or at a restaurant.
Well, and I just think too, it's been so normalized. Like, it's interesting because when I get that question from families that are inquiring about our program, to me, I just feel like we have such diversity within the agency, and birth parents choosing families. I mean, preferences are preferences, right? So somebody can have a preference about anything, whether we're talking about a same-sex versus a heterosexual, or a person's race, or whether or not a family has other children or not. Your preferences are there. But for the most part, especially in today, 2024, like, we have all kinds of families, and it's so great that birth parents can come to us, see a selection of everybody, and just choose the right fit that works for them.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that started with, like you said, with the agency, is that Stephanie never treated us. I don't even know if she referred to us necessarily as a same-sex couple. We were just Tim and Greg trying to find a baby. I mean, that's what it came down to. So from the get-go, we didn't feel any different.
Other final thoughts, anything that you would want people to know, remembering back before you came to our agency, something that you just want our community to really understand about adoption?
One thing, and like Greg said, I was reading through all of our old emails with the agency prior, and, you know, we should have known better. Like, our gut at the time, I think, was telling us that this is not the right route, but we didn't follow it because we were just so wanting a family at that point. So I think our advice would be, make sure you're going with your gut. If you feel like something's not right, it's probably not. And it's for a reason. And I think that is eventually what led us here. So I don't regret us doing that, because I don't think it would have gotten us to this point. But at the time, it definitely didn't feel right, and we didn't realize it.
Well, we have friends, same-sex couples who have adopted as well, and it's not always like we had 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
We have friends who have had to wait a year or two, so it is different for everybody.
But they did receive a baby,
Yep.
like you guys say, like it will happen, and you just don't know when, and they did. It was just a little bit longer.
Well, guys, we really appreciate you joining in on this platform and just sharing your experience in building your family. You guys are wonderful. Even the way you talk about birth family, I can just tell that you are just so positive, and we appreciate you, and we're happy that your adoption triad has turned out the way that it is. We wish you lots of luck in parenthood. And please continue to tune in to future episodes here at Adoptions from the Heart.